Hi everyone, it's Marilyn Aloria, and I am so super excited to introduce you to Lexi. We don't have viewers yet. Viewers. Do you like that? Viewers. So I'm going to go check my page because that is very unusual. And I did something which I never do. So actually, I'm going to put you on, Lexi, because it says people comments. Hello. All right, people are on. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to go check my page first. So everybody just bear with me for a second, and then I'm going to introduce Lexi, and we're going to bring her on. We're going to talk about a very hot topic, which is blocks, right? How to dissolve blocks, because a lot of people struggle with this, and I'm super excited to bring Lexi on. I am live. So let me first tell you a little bit about Lexi before I bring her on. I met Lexi in a mastermind group, a paid mastermind group that I was in through this coach, and I fell in love with her the minute I met her. She is somebody who's just so warm and inviting and smart and spiritual, and just one of those souls that when you meet them, you're just like, oh, I want to be your friend. Can you be my friend? So that's the experience I had with her right away. And when I got to know her a little bit more, we invited her to teach a class for Membership for Your Soul. So many of you know I have a program called Membership for Your Soul. And if you want to get on the wait list, the doors are closed. You can go to membershipforyoursoul.com and get on the wait list because it is the bomb, that program. And I invite teachers on to teach on that program because what I find is, I'm not an expert in all these areas. And instead of them learning from me half-assed about certain things like dissolving blocks, which Lexi is an expert at, I bring on people who are experts in these areas so that my members can learn from them. So it's almost like, what you see in Masterclass or Udemy, but what's better, or even what's that other one? Mind Valley, right? So Membership for Your Soul is a little bit like that. It's got all these different teachers that are teaching incredible things, but we have community that those programs don't have, which I think is even better. So I'm going to let Lexi come on, and Lexi's going to tell you a little bit about herself, and we are going to have a lot of fun today. So let's show Lexi and me, and there we go. Hi, Lexi.
Great. Hi. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here. I'm really excited for this talk with you today, Marilyn. So I'm Lexi Soulios. I am a holistic therapist and creator of the Elusis method, which is a 4-step proven gentle process to help you gently and permanently dissolve any life blocks that you have so that you can have the relationship that you want, so you can have the money that you want, so you can have the peace of mind that you want. So that's in a nutshell what I do.
How did you come to that, though? Because that's pretty interesting. That's areas that everybody struggles with is money, relationships. And then you said what I love, Lexi said, she said, gently dissolve these blocks. So how did you come to that?
To the word gently, or to doing this work in general?
Doing this work.
Oops, we lost you.
You lost me? I can see me.
I don't know if I'm still live. Looks like I am.
You are. We both are. Can you see?
I'll just talk a little bit.
Okay.
Seems like Marilyn's cut out for some reason. So the way that I came to doing this work in dissolving blocks, and especially realizing that it needed to be gentle, was that I had my own challenges in life. It looks like Marilyn might be coming back on.
I'm here, Lexi. So I think you're just not seeing me for some reason, but I'm here.
Okay.
And I'm seeing it on Facebook. We're both here. So just keep carrying on.
Okay, great. Yeah, it blacked out for some reason on my end. Okay, great. So Marilyn, did you mean how did I come to
just your own personal story? Because I think that is really important, because we attract a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, and what spiritual entrepreneurs don't always understand, they wait till they're fully healed before they teach and everything like that. So I always think the personal journey is super important for people to learn how you've taken your own personal journey. And you've now made a career out of everything that you're doing. So that's why I wanted to talk about that.
Okay, great. So I moved cross country when I was just about 30 years old. My life was in total shambles. I had the fifth guy in a row totally break my heart. I was trying to run my own company. I didn't realize I needed to charge money for my own time. So that totally just fell apart. And I was like, I need to go on a spiritual quest. And I also had some addictive behaviors that I needed to confront and get over. So I drove cross country and started a whole new life again in Ashland, Oregon, and really got to go through addressing each kind of life area of what was not working in my life. So I got to address love, I got to address business, I got to address things inside myself that were keeping me addicted to different things. And through that process, I was getting stuck in certain places. I was trying all different kinds of healing modalities and reading spiritual texts and watching spiritual teachers and going to therapists. And it's like each one had a piece of the puzzle, but I still wasn't where I wanted to be. And so I wound up going on a real deep search for how do you actually change your life? Not just like how do you have a catharsis one day or some like amazing spiritual high the next day, but how do you really actually go through the process of metamorphosizing your entire being so that you can go from being someone who doesn't really get the world of money or doesn't really get the world of prosperity. Maybe you can just basically survive, but you don't know how to really like prosper and have the life that you feel like is possible and really want. So Marilyn, I really studied a lot and I began working with different people just for free. This is like 15 to 20 years ago. And throughout the course of doing those things, I made a lot of discoveries that really taught me the process of transformation and how it is so important to go gently and to realize it's not an overnight process. You have to do things actually a bit methodically and take things step by step, and you will get through it all.
I love that you say that because that is something that I constantly talk about because it's an evolution and it's just twofold. One, I usually hear people say, I'm waiting till I'm healed before I can bring my work to the world. And I'm like, no, there's many people behind you that aren't where you're at and they need your help. So reach back and help them. The other thing too, that disturbs me, and this might work for other people, but it doesn't work for me. When I hear, listen to this activation and you're going to be cured for life. Those things kind of annoy the hell out of me because there's always just another evolution. And I think that for my personal journey, like yours, I've needed to do the work, the soul searching work, in order to be very conscious to the things that present themselves when I'm changing and growing and expanding, the new blocks that come up, and then to work through them with ease and grace and gently, like you say. And I don't think it's ever been me in a deep meditation, spirit coming down and healing me for good, and I think that there's this interpretation out there that's not correct. What do you feel about that? And then I want to take one of the questions I thought was really great, but go ahead.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And what that brings to mind for me is that so many of us are actually really skilled on a spiritual level, right? Like when we're expanded and we're out in our light body, it's beautiful. It's easy. And so like those activations, we may get like our vibration may go up, but then when we try to come back into our life, that's when the challenges happen, So that's where we really need to be realizing that process is slower. That process takes time. It's not a 30-minute or 5-minute activation that's going to change everything for you. It's just not possible.
See, I love that. And I would love to ask all of you that are on here what your thoughts are about that, because I want to hear from my community, because I'm not somebody who represents that type of work. So I'm curious what people on here think, because I get a lot of different followers. And I think, and I feel Lexi, we're probably both. So we're talking to Lexi because she's teaching a class on membership for your soul this month. And I bring on expert teachers, and she is teaching a class about dissolving blocks, how to dissolve life blocks gently and permanently. And she teaches tools and techniques in order to do that, so that when you're represented with a block, you have that tool and technique to do that. So in other words, maybe you're in a certain area in your life and you dissolve a block, and then all of a sudden you decide to write a book about it, and you're going to go out and do speaking engagements about it, something totally new. And new blocks might arise when you do this new experience. And these tools and techniques that she teaches, you bring along with you in your life. And one of the things that I feel that Lexi and I are both doing, and Lexi, you tell me if I'm wrong or not, is we're teaching spiritual people how to actually live on this earth and not have to hide away in a closet because we're both sensitive beings, but how to really have the experience here and bring our work to earth. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's what I feel like my life mission's all about. I know what you're doing very much. It's one of the things I really appreciate about you is just the down to earthness of everything that you are and represent and everything that you teach. And I loved what you said, Marilyn, about how the new life blocks come as you expand your capacity and as you move into different parts of your life. I remember when I first started my business, my blocks were basically about putting myself out there, like, basic visibility stuff and how to get clients and being afraid of that I don't offer value and things like that. And now as my business is growing, my blocks are totally different. It's a whole new level that I'm needing to grow through. And so, like you said, this process that I teach really is something that you bring with you for life to understand how to feel empowered at each step. To know like, okay, I can do this. This is just the next level. I do this, this, and this, and that's how I'm going to move through it.
So what's the name of that process again that you teach?
It's called the Eleusis method.
And how do you spell that?
ELEUSIS.
ELEUSIS method.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it stands for something. Is that correct?
It's not an acronym, actually. It is the name of an ancient city in Greece where initiates of the cult of Demeter and Persephone would go to experience what they called the Eleusinian mysteries. And so people would start in Athens and they would walk 14 miles along a road called the Sacred Way. And that whole journey along the Sacred Way was an initiatory process. It was a very deep, beautiful process that would begin with their elders and mentors being with them in the beginning and giving them guidance. And then there were sacred shrines and burial sites along the way where they could lay down their troubles. They'd have to go through different trials and tribulations along the Sacred Way. And then they would wind up in Eleusis, where there would be a big celebration. And then they would go into the temple for these Eleusinian mysteries. And the story that goes along with it, and I say story because it was actually punishable by death to tell anyone what happened during these sacred rituals in the temple. And so what we believe happened was that they were taught not to fear death during those rituals. And so it was really, they would come out very different than the way they went in. And so the Eleusinian mysteries went on for 2,000 years. Plato did them, Socrates, like all of the huge influencers back then, philosophers and teachers, they all did the Eleusinian mysteries. They went through that initiatory process. So I named it after that city of Eleusis.
You said something really, first of all, that's fascinating. I never knew that. And you said something really interesting that I think is a lot that has to do with blocks. You said that they had to learn how not to be afraid of death.
Exactly.
And I think that a lot of us have these blocks in our lives because it's some type of death or something, of ourselves, or we're afraid of something, or we don't feel safe. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I noticed that when people go to move through their blocks, they go up to that next level, like we've spoken about, there can be a lot of fear, and it is a letting go of the way your life once was. Right. It's a letting go of the parts of yourself that needed to stay small, that didn't feel safe. It's actually the way that I teach the method, and what I believe is that those parts are really valuable and they need our attention. And so we actually really go to support them, and then they're able to integrate rather than just cutting them off.
Totally. Because if we're ignoring that part of ourselves or trying to push it away, we're just in constant struggle.
Totally.
Instead of inviting it in. So I love that idea of that. I think it's great. So somebody had asked, and I think this is a really interesting question, and I want to hear what your answer is to this. They said, Susan asked, how do you know that you have blocks?
Great question. So you have blocks if you are somewhere that you don't want to be in your life. You have something going on that is not feeling good, and you feel like you want to move into a new experience, and you're not able to do it. For some reason, you feel really stuck. You don't know how to move into a different kind of relationship, or move into a different level of health, or a different level in your business. So what do you think about that, Marilyn?
I agree with you 100%. And I think it also shows up when you're living the same routine life and you're finding yourself bored. And that itself can show up as a block, because you're not allowing yourself to think or be bigger. Like we just said, you're keeping yourself small. So that in itself shows up as a block. So you may have these dreams of doing something else, but you're not able to put them into action. And if Susan, if you're still on, I'd be really curious about what you think about that response. So I think you have blocks when you're not living the life that you really want to be living, which is the life in your heart, and you're feeling frustrated and stuck, which is great, which is not great. So we're talking to Lexi, because Lexi is doing a class on membership for your soul, dissolving life blocks gently and permanently. And I always like to invite the guest teachers from my Membership for Your Soul program onto my business page, so all of you could get an experience of all these incredible teachers that are out there that teach without ego and teach incredible things. And she's teaching things. She says you'll discover the most important mindset shift for making big positive life shifts, and you'll learn a proven, gentle 4-step process for reliably creating the money, love, and contentment you desire. So I have a lot of soul stars on here, which are people from my Membership for Your Soul. What I want to know is, what's some of the techniques that you do? Are you, like, if people are going into the blocks, the techniques that you're teaching, are they going to be conscious of now these techniques, so that when they see the block, they can apply it right away? Is that how it works, Lexi? Like, are you waking them up to a whole other system, so that when they recognize this block now, they're going to be able to take this information that you're giving them and be able to put it towards the block?
Yeah, completely. That's a great question. And was it Susan that asked the question before? So she actually brought up a really good point, which is blocks are kind of amorphous, and it can be hard to tell exactly what is keeping you stuck, right? You're in the middle of it. You don't know why you're not getting up to do the work you need to do that day. You're just kind of hiding and want to binge watch Netflix,
right?
Whatever it is. And you don't really know, like, what's blocking me. So my process, I really help you get clear on what is it that's blocking you, what's holding you back, what's keeping you stuck. And the process, like I mentioned before, is really about kindness, gentleness. So much more gets accomplished when we're working with human beings. So much more gets accomplished by holding a container of safety and respect for ourselves. So I teach tools to do that. So I really help people to have a very easy way to begin detecting exactly why you are not living the life that you want to be living, and then to determine what needs to happen next. And the what needs to happen next is something that needs to be chunked down into individual steps that you can actually take, rather than what needs to happen is I need to wave a magic wand over everything.
Right.
So I really teach people my whole
life.
Yeah. And really how to, like we were saying in the beginning, embody who you want to be. And that is a process of having a level of wisdom about how transformation happens. And so that's what this process is about, is it's giving you the wisdom that you need about how to transform.
Yeah. So Susan actually said, yes, I see that. Do you unblock them by changing lifestyle? And that's not, Lexi's telling you, it's not just by, I don't think, I know this from my students. Many people may be like, I really know I'm supposed to be doing this and that, but instead I end up on the couch just eating chips and watching TV. And she's talking about techniques and tools that take you from the couch to the thing that you're meant to be doing. Because it's not just, okay, I'm going to change my life and I'm going to change it tomorrow. Not everybody has the skill set to do that. Some people they may have the techniques and the tools to do that, but I have seen a lot of people that just stay stuck. They don't change it.
Yeah. And the thing about like changing lifestyles, there's a reason we're living the lifestyle that we're living, right? So I could tell you, okay, change these things and you're going to feel even more stuck. There's like a reason that you're living the lifestyle you're living. And so I help you really tune into what those reasons are and what kind of support do you need so that they're not in your way anymore.
Right. I love that. I remember a long time ago, and I share this story all the time, where I was meditating with my guides and I saw this big boulder in front of me and I knew it was a block. I was getting ready for a whole other level of my life. And I said to my guides, how do I get past this block? And they said, you go around it, you live your life, and whatever you need to learn is going to show up in your life, and you're going to work through it with the tools and techniques that you have. So many people sit there and stare at the block and they're like, I can't move forward until I get rid of this block. I get rid of this block. And you're saying the same thing. Pretty much my guide said, you said, no, you take the techniques and the tools and you learn how to dissolve those blocks gently while still living, not waiting for something to go away. Correct?
Totally. And exactly what your guide said is that your life is showing you what those blocks are on a moment-to-moment basis. And so that's something that I do in those lessons, is really help you understand how to see the information that's being given to you in your life, in your everyday life.
This is great. So I'm super excited that Lexi is going to be teaching on Membership for Your Soul. The doors aren't open right now, but if you guys want to get on the wait list, get on the wait list. And I want to see if we can take some questions from anybody. More importantly, I want to know, what do you feel is keeping you blocked, or where do you feel that you're blocked? Do you have any questions, Lexi, for the audience? And you know what I really want to hear, Lexi, right now is, before we do that, let's ask a question, because it takes a while for them to start typing in. But then I want you to share some results that your clients have had, because I think that that's super important. We learn from other people's experiences, not from theory of just talking about it. It's yeah. So that's what I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Great. Did you feel good with the question that you asked? Or?
I think so. Or do you have a question that you would like to know?
I'm most interested probably in what kinds of blocks your community is dealing with. Do they tend to be, you may already know this, do they tend to be blocks just around money, in business? You said you have a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of the above. And you and I both know that when we start getting one thing working in our lives, we get the trickling effect of everything, because the consciousness around relationships, around career, and around money all shift when you shift a major block. Because a lot of blocks for me may be self-worth, or living too small, or something like that. And then that is a trickling effect to better relationships with people, better relationship with my money, better relationship with career, knowing that what I'm teaching is really stellar. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Lexi?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So Renee, this class is not available to the public right now, but if you join the membership waitlist, because we may open it, then that's how you do it. So you go to membershipforyoursoul.com. And you could also look up Lexi, which will share Lexi's information as well. Whoops, hold on. If you go to membershipforyoursoul.com, you can join the wait list there. And Lexi, what's your website? So I can put your website in here too.
It's my name.com. So LexiSoulios.com.
Okay. So her name is up there. Let me just put it up real quick. And then I want to take some questions, but I want to share I want Lexi to share a story, and I want to share a story, because I think, is it SOU? I can't read it. LIOS?
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. So that's Lexi's website if you want to learn more about Lexi. And are you active on your Facebook page, honey? Do you have a business Facebook page?
I do have a business Facebook page, but they can go ahead and friend me also on Facebook.
Okay. Oh, Lexi Okay. She does business different than I do. My personal page is pretty much my personal page. Oh, we have some soul stars on here. Hi, Roseanne. Roseanne, you're going to get this lesson in membership. So tell us a story about one of your clients, and then we're going to take some questions from everybody.
Okay, so I have so many stories from my clients. So I'm trying to determine which one makes the most sense for teaching the Eleusis method. So I have one woman who, okay, so she is in her 50s. She knew that she wanted to get into a healthier relationship than what she had ever been in before. And she had had a pattern of dating guys that were alcoholics or kind of man babies. Don't mean to be mean, but just that was like the feeling was that she had to play mom with them a lot. And through learning the Eleusis method, she really was intentional about wanting to use it to create a new kind of relationship for herself. She's, like I said, mid-50s and knew that she didn't want to waste the next decades of her life dealing with this same kind of junk in her relationship. She really wanted to be with a partner she felt like was an equal and would be uplifting for her. So she took the steps of the Eleusis method and that mindset shift that I talked about, and she was able to see what exactly needed to change in her and in how she was relating to men, and address those things step by step, like I said. And so now she's in the UK. She met a man who lives in France, and they are both musicians. They are completely in love. They visit each other all the time. They play music together. He cooks for her. She's like deliriously happy. So it's really special. And yeah, so that's one story.
I love that. I love that. I mean, who doesn't want to dissolve those blocks to finally live the life that they're dreaming of living?
Yeah, and I think that's what's so special too as we get older as women, that we start realizing we have to be very intentional about where we're going. There were so many times growing up where we just gave our power away, we gave our vitality, our youth away. And as we start getting older, we realize that we don't want to do that anymore. We can't be in a bad relationship and spend a year recovering from it. No. So we get really intentional, and
I love that you just said that. And I do want to include, we're going to do a Facebook Live with the men of membership, because we have incredible men in our membership program. And they definitely go through that too. They're a different type of men than we're normally used to. They're definitely this I don't even want to say the sensitive type, because I think that has a stigma, but
deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So I love that you said that, because I just think that is super important. So let's take some questions, unless you want to share another story.
Sure, I'm happy to. It's up to you.
Share a story, and then we'll go to questions. So guys, any questions you have about dissolving blocks, we're going to answer. And so this is beautiful Lexi, and this is her website. And Lexi is a guest teacher on Membership for Your Soul. And if you're interested in joining Membership for Your Soul, go and get on the wait list. We have closed the doors to it because we like to take care of our students that are in there. But I bring a lot of great, incredible guest teachers on that program. I know I'm slowing up a bit. I could tell by the internet. Because I think that there's so many great teachers out there, and I don't think people should just learn from me, because I fucking definitely don't know it all. So there you go. Go ahead, Lex, give us one more story.
Okay, great. I also want to say my website, it's very old. It's getting redone next week. Right. So just go ahead and hit the contact button, and you can send me a direct note. So another story is one woman who, her mother was getting very ill, and she was needing to go and do care for her mom. And she had a lot of resentment coming up about things that had happened when she was young. And so we were able to use the Eleusis method to help her begin to work through everything that was in the way of her being able to enjoy this precious last time that she had with her mom. So we were able to help her clear away different resentments and different difficulties that they had in their relationship. And we worked together over the course of about 5 months. And during that last month, they had the most, I work with people over 6 months, usually when we do one-on-one. So we worked for 5 months. And then during that last month, she and her mom had the most beautiful connection that they had ever had in their whole lives together. She was able to just receive her mom's love. Her mom stopped picking at her. There wasn't like that criticism that had been hurting her. And it was so special. And then her mom passed away shortly after we stopped working together. And it was just like, I mean, I can't imagine anything more deep and precious than to be able to have time spent with family members that actually is loving and nourishing, rather than all of those difficulties on the surface of things, you know?
Yeah. And what a better memory to have as your last memory, you know, instead of all the other crap. So you're able to move that out of the way, which is really great, which I love. Hi, Florentine. Yeah. So you can see how removing these blocks are super important. So Roseanne, who's a soul star, she says, yes, calling and purpose and making money and starting it late in life, also feeling unworthy and incapable of being successful. So it's a good thing you're in membership, Roseanne, because you're going to get this lesson. Do you have anything to say to Roseanne about it? Like, I think blocks definitely of unworthiness and fear of being successful, and definitely at a certain age, being afraid to put yourself out there in a new way, especially if you didn't have success in the past. Like, what would be, I don't know, is there any like advice or anything you would say, or yeah?
Well, I just want to tell her that it's amazing how clear you are, because when I read that, I'm like, okay, great. You know exactly kind of the area that you need work in. And I am confident that you can totally change that and be in a very different place 6 months to a year from now. So that's how I feel about that. I could get into working with her, you know, get into real deep on what she's talking about, but I think just to say that for now.
You'll hear from Roseanne in membership on the Q&A call, because she's very verbal. She's also in SFA. So she's very good at like putting herself out there. And I know you're going to be doing a special Q&A call with everybody in membership. So she will definitely do that. Roseanne, you will definitely benefit from Lexi in that. But I do want to say, Roseanne, I'm really glad she said that to you. She's been doing a ton of work on herself in both programs. I've been witnessing it. And I'm so glad that Lexi noticed your consciousness, because I think you need to celebrate more of what you are doing than what you're not doing. To see that, which is great. Okay.
Can I just quickly say something too?
Sure.
Marilyn, is that everything, I want everyone on this live right now to know that everything that you've done has helped you. And so if you're not still where you want to be, there are just a few missing pieces. So not to feel like you're at square one. You're not. Everything that you've done and all of the work that you've done in Marilyn's groups and in your life, all the personal work, those things have moved you forward. There are just a few keys that are missing. And so that's what this lesson is going to help you really discover, is what some of those keys might be. So
I love that you said that. We were ending our mastermind spiritual entrepreneur group, and they asked me to do a meditation, and I channel meditation. So I never know what's going to come through. And Spirit had me put everything in a ball, their whole life experience, in this big clay ball, like take it off their body and put it in a big clay ball. And they gave it down to Mother Earth, and she rubbed it. We worked through the meditation, and it became this gorgeous pearl, this absolutely beautiful pearl. And then she gave it back to them, and they were scrying like a crystal ball. And what they were seeing in there were all the people they were going to help, all the people that through all their life experience, through everything they did, they were getting to see now that all this life experience, all this work that they've done on themselves was now going to be carried out and helping so many other people. So I know it was such a beautiful meditation, and I'm so blessed that Spirit gave it to us. But what I want to say is something that Lexi said that I think is super important. And these are the types of teachers you want to look for. She's not saying you're broken.
Mm-hmm.
She's not saying anything like that. She's saying start recognizing all the work you've done thus far and how much further you already are on your path.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't tend to attract people that, if I do, they leave my page pretty quickly. I don't tend to attract people that are victims or aren't doing the work. So I love that you acknowledge that in every single person. I think that that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's so true.
I'm assuming when you work with them, Lexi, you're able to see all of that. And then like, it's not just a technique, a formula you throw at people, you kind of meet them on their path and work with them individually on that particular thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. This year, I'm going to be working with people in one of two ways. And one is with a very small group of people. I do a one-on-one journey where I take them for 6 months. And so they get a lot of my time and attention, and we work through those individual blocks that are going on in their life. And then also I work with larger groups where I teach them a more in-depth process and really help them see what have they already done and then what those remaining pieces are that they need to put in place so that they get to the other side, to where they really want to be.
I think small groups and groups are so important because one, you accelerate as a group through vibration. Like I've always noticed when I was studying mediumship work, everybody'd be like, why is it so much stronger? Because you're in a vibration of like-minded individuals, light-minded as my spirit guides call them. The other thing, you get to see reflected back from other people, and it accelerates your learning. So I'm so glad you're going to be doing small groups as well. And I'm excited to see what happens in membership too, as a group learning this together. So I think that's great that you're doing that. I want to take some, there was another question here that it was Christiana. She said, so this program is basically a beginning of a process that could actually be a long journey. And I feel she's misinterpreting something here. So I want you to answer that and we can both answer it. So there's that question. You see it, Lexi, right?
Yeah, basically the beginning of a process of what could be a long journey. Yeah. So I feel like you already have something you want to say though. So I want to hear that.
I do, because I think that people in this community have been misled to think that you do this one simple process and you're changed for life. And then because they're not completely changed, they brush up against some discomfort. They think they're doing something wrong. They're a loser. They're not the guru on the mountain that's saying everything is beautiful. They don't recognize that life is a journey. And all the techniques and the tools that we are teaching, you bring with you wherever you go. And it's not as hard as it was back then. It's easier. She says it's easier. And I know from my own work that what I was doing in therapy even 10 years ago it's nothing compared to what I'm doing today and how quickly I go through things. But there's this life happy ending bullshit that's out there. And life can be happy, period, when you start accepting the fact that when you want to grow, you want to evolve, you want to really live as a spiritual person on this earth plane, life is an evolution. There's going to be moments of discomfort, like what happened in El Paso, Texas and Ohio. Like I can't watch the news, and I read a little bit about that because a member was affected in a way. And that for a spiritual being is so hard for us to bring in. And that's part of the consciousness we're living in. And then we take these tools and these techniques and we use them to make ourselves better and to help heal others instead of shutting us down. So it's when you say it's a long journey, Christiana, I think you're looking at it from a perspective of a lot of pain. And a lot of these techniques and tools take you out of the pain and bring you into enlightenment and allow you to recognize the expansion in every single moment so that you're not in the pain, you're in the expansion. Does that make sense? Did that make sense to you, Lexi? There's a lot I'm trying to throw in there.
Yeah, it made sense to me. And I feel like, you know, when we have blocks that we have in our life, these have taken decades, maybe even lifetimes to come about, right?
Right.
So they're not going, we need to be like real about it and understand if you were to try to clear all those in 1 week's time or 1 month's time, it would actually feel violent. Like your nervous system could not handle it, you know? And so just what you said, this process is something that gives you a structure to help you most efficiently move through the challenges and the blocks in your life so that you're not spinning your wheels or going in a lot of different directions trying to make progress. And then 10 years later, you're in the exact same place. So big changes don't happen overnight, and there's good reason for that. You don't want them to. You want incremental changes to happen, and you want to know how to make those incremental changes so that you are shifting things as efficiently and safely as possible.
I love that. I love that she says that, because so many of us have such big dreams, right? And we think, like, say our dream is to be on Super Soul Sunday with Oprah. Just say that's a dream, right? But right now we're living in an experience in our life that's super small, and we're at a job that we friggin' hate. And if all of a sudden, I would say the majority of those people, if they found themselves in front of Oprah, they wouldn't even know how to respond. They wouldn't even know how to be, if that was their dream. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I know from my own personal journey, when I had the dream of something big, and then the opportunity came down the pike, I wasn't able to take it because I wasn't yet ready. I didn't dissolve those blocks. So instead, like, if I took that meeting, I would sabotage it. I would completely sabotage the moment because my own interpersonal growth wasn't there yet. Does that make sense, Lexi? Do you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I can speak and I edit a lot of what's in my head.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And like, just using that example about Oprah and Super Soul Sunday, even if you just take it at the most like surface level thing, if you were to show up on Oprah and, you know, be interviewed over, you know, with millions of people watching it, then all those people come to your website. Your website's not up for that. Like, It's going to crash. You're not going to get nearly out of that situation what you think you are, you know? You don't have the systems in place to be able to handle that kind of an influx of energy and attention. So even, you know, that is like a good example of how we're not ready for these big things until we go through the process of working up to that.
Right.
You know?
And I want to say something about that. It doesn't mean that it has to be years, because we're not in a process where it used to take years of talk therapy to be in those places anymore. We can accelerate quicker. And so I think that that's great too. Yeah. And how would you deal with the critics?
Right. You know? The haters. Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say, like, about talk therapy, you know, this is an amazing time to be doing this work, because there are so many tools and techniques that impact us on different levels that wind up being far more transformational than sitting in talk therapy for hours and hours.
Totally.
Talk therapy has its place, but we need to understand what its place is. And then we can access these other therapies and tools that can make a big difference for us.
I agree. I was in talk therapy for over 17 years. So, and during that time, I was in dream interpretation and group therapy and all these different things, which accelerated the process. And when I see what's available to us today, as opposed to what was available to me in my late 20s, it's such a different experience, and it's such an accelerated experience. So I think that's great. So thank you, Terry. She says, I'm hearing from both Meryl and Lexi small comments that I need to hear. Thanks, Warrior Woman. So you are so welcome. So, let me see if I can take another question. For those of you, this is, I have a new computer, so I'm trying to learn how to work it. So this is Lexi's website. She said she's under construction for a new website, but you can figure out the contact and send in the contact, and she can respond to you. And for those of you, she's doing a lesson on membership for your soul. And if you're interested in that, let us know. Join the wait list. You can let us know in the comments. The doors are closed right now, but we could communicate with you via Messenger and talk to you about that program as well. And this is what I do. I bring on these stellar friggin' teachers to teach that program. But Lexi's the bomb, so she's great. I'm trying to see. Okay, so Just seeing if there's any other questions that anybody has. I'm not really sure if I understand this fully. So is it possible to, I think we answered this. Is it possible to be in a desert period for years? Somebody else asked this too about divine timing. I thought this was interesting. So I'm going to try to do both questions so that we can answer this. Is it possible to be in a desert period for years? How do you know when you exit it or you're still in it? And I think we've kind of answered that a bit, but because somebody else said, let me just try to find it. It was about divine timing, which I thought was fascinating question. Here it is. Could a block actually be a matter of divine timing? And I think it's a little goes with the in the desert period, you're feeling a little stuck. What do you think, Lex?
Yeah, I think that it would take you tuning into yourself, or a conversation with a close friend, or, you know, a coach or someone that really can tune in deeply with you to determine that. There may be some blocks that are still affecting you, and then there may be a matter of divine timing for things. I just feel like that's something that needs more inquiry, you know?
Yeah. And I do think it's a combination of things. And then are we holding off? And then you know what I think the question with divine timing is? Lack of faith and trust. We think that, you know, God, like there's a God out there that's going, you know, for me, divine timing, whenever I get into that kind of space, there's usually a lack or a scarcity around it, instead of just a whole faith and trust that I'm learning as I'm going, I'm expanding as I'm growing, and everything's showing up in the perfect amount of time. So I think that that's really good. I want to take this question because I thought this was interesting, because I see this a lot. I want to be a published memoir author, but my block is that I don't have a college degree and that it's too late. I've dissolved many blocks from my childhood, but can't seem to get past this. Can you help?
Okay, what was the last sentence in that?
Well, she's saying that she's struggling with, I might have moved past it too soon. Hold on, here it is.
Kind of a deep person, so I read slow and take it all in. Okay. So what it sounds like is that what's coming up for you is stuff that a lot of us come up against as we're growing older, you know, that it's too late for us to do this or that. I'm more interested in, I think there's a couple of things. One is, why do you feel that you need to have a college degree in order to be a published author, right? There are amazing authors and amazing people who do great things without a college degree. And I have a college degree and feel like it was a waste. And I don't know that anyone actually ever pays attention to it. So that makes me wonder what's coming up for you internally around that. Do you feel that way too, Marilyn?
Yeah, it's a belief system. So I'll speak about that in a second, because when you hear my story, you're going to be like, oh yeah, okay, go ahead.
And then there is something about us as we get older, we'll tell ourselves it's too late, or we think people are looking at us that way. And really that is a bunch of BS. And if you can think about, like, 20 years ago, you were telling yourself you were too young and no one would respect you because what do you know? You're too young. So it's really like comes into kind of the excuses that are holding us back, you know, and then what kind of work do we need to do around those? How deep do we need to go to shift those? So I want to hear your story.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that completely. And that's a belief system. And then you also have to ask yourself, why do I keep holding on to this belief and not and giving it more strength than what I really want to do, my truth? You know, and there's some kind of safety in holding on to a belief that's not allowing you to propel yourself forward. And this all comes to consciousness and awareness. So I have a college degree, and I love writing, love it. I'm in a writing class right now. And my teacher basically, after they read my work, they love my work, because I'm telling a story, a Hollywood murder story. And but the teacher was like, oh my goodness, your grammar and spelling is frigging atrocious. And I even and I've known this for a long time, I have a college degree. And I remember once my English professor saying to me, this paper, he gave me like a D on a paper, and he said, this paper needs to be hospitalized right away. Like,
Oh
but then I've had English teachers say to me, wow, you write so magnificently, so beautiful. You write the way you speak. So it's all a matter of how people see it. I've had, like I said, I've had both sides of the coin. And I have to tell you, when I got that comment in my writing class, and these writers are amazing. They've been together for over 30 years. I just went and picked up a book on grammar. I'm starting to read it. I have Grammarly. I do my best. And I spoke to some of the writers, and I just know that you have editors for that stuff. So if that's what's holding you back, mine sucks, but I'm not going to let it stop me from doing storytelling, from telling my story, and for writing my books and getting my story out there. So whether you have a college degree or not does not matter. I also knew a billionaire who never graduated grammar school. He just barely made it through grammar school. So just saturate yourself with those stories and you will feel better.
Yeah. And I'd say to shift your attention to what your other credibility markers are. There are other, I'm not sure what your memoir is about, but what else have you accomplished or been through in your life that make you the perfect person to tell this story, and the reason other people want to hear this from you specifically? So
I love that. That's great. Well, everybody, so Lexi's teaching on Membership for Your Soul. So if you're interested, let us know. Like I said, it's closed doors right now, but just let us know if you're interested. And then if you want to learn more about Lexi, Soulios.com. You can go to her website. You can go to her Facebook page. She actually lets you friend her on her Facebook page. Mine's personal. So I do that for a reason, because I have a lot of friends on the East Coast and I want to know what's going on. And then my newsfeed gets too crazy. But you can go to Lexi's website. For some reason, it's not showing. There it is. And she will friend you. Anything you want to leave us with, Lex?
Well, we were talking about the Eleusis method and the city in ancient Greece and Demeter and Persephone. And I just want to say Persephone is the goddess of spring. And her journey was that she was taken by Hades, the god of the underworld, taken down into the underworld for a while. And then through a series of different events, her mother, Demeter, was able to get her back from the underground, and she came up as springtime. And it was said that she rose up from the underworld in the city of Eleusis. That's why it became such a sacred city for them. There's a cave where she's said to come out. And I want to just say that, our process can be a lot like that you can be in a place where you feel like you're in a lot of darkness, but that darkness actually has medicine for you, and there is always a way out of it. And so in this lesson, what you'll learn is really not to be afraid of what is feeling difficult for you, and really being able to see in that darkness, see the steps that you need to take to come out into your own springtime. So
I love that. I'm not going to even touch that one because that's perfect. It's just so good. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Lexi. And I will see you soon, guys. So everybody, thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you for having me. Bye.